Nobody wants to admit this, but the Charlotte Hornets are quietly becoming interesting. And yeah, I can already hear the jokes forming. I know the reputation. I know the history. I know how many times this franchise has flirted with optimism only to immediately trip over its own shoelaces. At this point, skepticism isn't pessimism. It's muscle memory. If you followed this team long enough, you're trained to brace for disappointment the moment things start to feel good. But this time feels different. Not in a hang a banner soon way, not in a clear cap space and dream about a superstar way either. In a much more subtle, much more important way. They finally look like a team that understands who they are and what they're trying to become. There's intention behind the chaos now, and that's the part people keep missing. Because for years, Charlotte felt like a collection of talent instead of direction. Pieces without a plan, development without alignment. One season it was speed. The next season it was size. Then suddenly it was vibes and hope. Nothing ever stacked on top of itself long enough to matter. Every year felt disconnected from the last.
Played 69 games last year as a rookie, starting 38 of them. LaMelo, about 4 feet behind the line, is...
Now, it's stacking. If you've actually watched their recent games instead of just glancing at the standings, where they sit at 16 and 28 as of late January 2026, you can feel it. The body language is different. The pace is intentional. Even the losses feel different. They aren't folding or spiraling. They're losing heartbreakers 1 to 8 points against contenders. Look at the 114 to 112 finish against Indiana, the 122 to 121 nail-biter in Milwaukee, or that 129 to 126 battle with Chicago. They're competing, adjusting, and learning in real time. That alone puts them ahead of where they've been. Let's talk about the results first, because context matters. Over their recent January stretch, Charlotte hasn't just been dominant, they've been credible. They are surging with an elite offense, posting a league-best 123.4 offensive rating over the last 10 games. They're beating teams with real talent and staying close against contenders. And when they lose, it's usually because of execution, not effort. That distinction matters more than people think. If you want to know what credibility looks like in practice, you only have to look at their last few stops on the schedule. At Oklahoma City, the Hornets didn't just win 124 to 97. They dismantled the Western Conference's top seed on their own floor. They put on a shooting clinic. Finishing was 53% from the field and 51% from behind the arc. Brandon Miller set the tone early with 28 points, while rookie Contender added 23 to prove the lights weren't too bright. Then they walked into Crypto.com Arena and beat the Lakers 135 to 117. Dictating the terms of engagement from the jump. LaMelo Ball put on an absolute masterclass, finishing with 30 points, 11 assists, and a season-high 9 triples. It was a game where the Hornets' pace and spacing completely overwhelmed a veteran Lakers squad. In Denver, they pulled a 110 to 87 win that was a statement of defensive growth and physical maturity. By swarming the glass and locking down the perimeter, the Hornets managed to snap the Nuggets' long-standing home winning streak. Even without an offensive explosion, they proved they could win a gritty, low-possession game. Finally, they hit Utah for a 150 to 95 victory. Pure, unadulterated dominance. They never trailed, using a massive first-quarter run to bury the Jazz and coast to a 55-point win. It served as a terrifying proof of concept for just how explosive this offense can be. Those games weren't just wins, they were statements. They showed that this is a real offense, not hot shooting, but pressure, spacing, and confidence layered on top of each other. They dictated terms instead of reacting. And here's what really sold me. Even in the close losses, the Hornets didn't unravel. No panic timeouts, no rushed possessions. No somebody save us energy where everyone looks around hoping someone else will bail them out. They stayed within their structure, even when the shots stopped falling. That's growth. And growth in this league is rarely linear. It's messy, it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it doesn't even show up in the standings right away. The record is heavily distorted by injuries, but you can tell when it's real. And this feels real. It starts with a guy who's always been the face of it all.
Salon, Trey Mann, LaMelo Ball, Contender. Hey, LaMelo, up and down!
LaMelo Ball is still the engine. That part hasn't changed. When he's on the floor, the game opens up. What has changed is how controlled it all feels. He's averaging 19.4 points and 7.6 assists. But he's picking his moments better. He's reading the room more. He understands when to push and when to settle. The concern, obviously, is availability. He's only appeared in 34 games so far, and that's the biggest swing factor. This entire vision only works if he's on the floor. But here's the key difference this year. LaMelo isn't alone anymore. He finally has teammates who don't just benefit from his creativity, but actively weaponize it. That's when Knippel comes in. This isn't hyperbole. He's already one of the most dangerous shooters in the NBA, averaging 19.1 points per game on a blistering 42.8% from three. The confidence is the part that jumps off the screen. He doesn't hesitate. Defenses can't cheat off him. He's doing veteran stuff as a rookie, moving and relocating off screens with comfort you just can't teach. But what really elevates him is everything else. He competes defensively and makes the right read. Playing next to LaMelo is hard. You have to think fast, and Knippel thrives in that environment.
Right to Knippel!
Now add Brandon Miller into the equation, averaging 20 points per game. And suddenly, this becomes a real conversation. Miller is starting to look like the guy Charlotte hoped he'd become. He's only played 27 games due to injuries, but the consistency and flow are there. He's attacking mismatches and finishing through contact within the offense, not hijacking it. Here's where things really turn. When those three share the floor, the Hornets aren't just competitive. They're winning minutes. Specifically, the lineup of Ball, Miller, Knuppel, Bridges, Diabate boasts a plus 41.4 net rating. Currently the best in the entire NBA for units with at least 70 minutes played. Moussa Diabate has been huge in that group, anchoring the rotation at center with 8.3 rebounds per game on 61.7% shooting. Then you look at the secondary pieces. Tidjane Salaün is progressing as a defensive force, and Colin Sexton, their savvy off-season pickup, is adding 14.8 points per game of pure bench scoring. Around the 4-minute mark of games when things tighten, Charlotte doesn't look lost anymore. That's the twist. They used to crumble in those moments. Now, there's clarity. LaMelo controls tempo. Knippel stretches the floor. Miller attacks. The defense has to choose. Is it perfect? No. Do they still need help defensively? Absolutely. They currently rank 17th in defensive rating during this stretch. An improvement, but they still need a real anchor. Someone who makes the paint feel expensive instead of inviting. That's the next step. But here's why this matters. They actually have the flexibility to make that move now. With $17.95 million in cap space and a stash of draft assets, potentially targeting high-end talent like Dylan Harper, they can accelerate without panicking. You let the core prove itself. Let chemistry build. Then strike when the window opens. And when that happens, this stops being a cute rebuild. It becomes a playoff problem. Think about the East for a second. It's not some unbeatable gauntlet. There are real openings. Teams with aging cores and identity questions. Are you excited to guard LaMelo for 48 minutes? Are you thrilled to chase Knippel around screens all night? Are you confident when Miller gets a mismatch late? Exactly. That's why this matters. Charlotte isn't there yet. Nobody's crowning them, but they're close enough that the league should be paying attention. Close enough that teams are starting to circle them on the schedule instead of overlooking them. This isn't false hope. This is a foundation. And for the first time in a long time, it feels like the Hornets actually know what they're building. So now I'll throw it back to you. Are you buying this score? Do you think health is the only thing holding him back from being a true threat? And what's the one move you'd make with that cap space to push this team over the edge? Because one thing's clear. The Hornets aren't just background noise anymore. They're coming. Would you like me to look up the latest trade rumors involving that $17.9 million trade exception to see which defensive centers might be on their radar?